Good morning, and welcome to the DFS YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11, and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at pitching for today, the 7th of October. We do have the two-game ALDS slate ahead of us. We're going to talk a little bit more than just pitching, but this is kind of a first look breakdown. Get our minds, functioning, working, thinking, debating, considering, whatever kind of word you want to use. Adjective, I guess. I'm not a English major, but we are going to just try to figure out where we want to go on this two-gamer. Curious to see some potential weather in Detroit. I don't think there's much worry, but I guess maybe I was just dreaming that. DraftKings lists some weather potential here. So I know our weather station is not up right now, but we'll try to dig in a little bit here. Everything looks pretty safe. Could be a delay, but looks like it's just going to be light rain, sprinkles, etc. Wind blowing out in Detroit at about 10 miles an hour. So that's interesting. New York, winds blowing across the field. Nothing crazy. But like I mentioned, it's kind of a first look into everything. And I will be looking at DraftKings, as that is where majority of my action is. But to be honest, in the postseason and with what we have, most pitchers are going to be used on both sides. Pitchers just aren't going deep enough in games for it to matter on one side or the other. So we're just going to look at pitchers for what they are. Now, I was looking at the K-props for each pitcher right before I started recording. Gilbert sitting at 6.5, juiced slightly to the under. Flaherty at 4.5, juiced pretty solidly to the over. And then Bieber at 5.5, juiced under. Rodon 4.5, juiced over. So by the looks of it, we see three guys that the likely outcome is 5 strikeouts, and another with the likely at 6, maybe 7. It's almost a pick 'em between 6.5, or at 6.5 for Logan Gilbert. But Rodon, just a bad K matchup for him. Gilbert, strong K matchup. Flaherty, pretty decent K matchup, and Bieber's got some K upside as well. From a baseball standpoint and fandom, I guess not a direct team related statement, but I do want the Yankees to beat the Blue Jays this evening. The more baseball, the better for me, in my eyes. So, bring on all the Game 5s in this round, all the Game 7s in the championship series, etc. First matchup, we have Seattle-Detroit starting at 3:08 Central Time here. Earlier game, kind of surprising. I know the NHL hockey season starts at like 4 Central Time. Like, a lot of early games today. Made me wonder if there's something serious going on later this evening, but I can't think of anything. It's not a Monday Night Football game or anything. But we have Gilbert and Flaherty. This particular matchup, we're looking at Gilbert a -135 favorite, or Seattle's a -135 favorite on the road in Game 3 after splitting the first two. Losing a tough one in Game 1 and then beating Scooble in Game 2. Flaherty himself has been all over the place in terms of performances this season. Hasn't finished the 5th in each of his last 2 starts and 3 out of his last 5. But in 3 out of his last 4, he's allowed 1 run or fewer. He traditionally has had some big K upside. He's had some struggles this season, been pretty up and down. Strikeouts weren't really the issue, but consistency was. 2 solo home runs to Seattle earlier this season. He is better when pitching at home, actually far better in my eyes, when you look at everything, minus the home runs. Gives up twice as many home runs as on the road this season. Not ideal against a team with Cal Raleigh and J-Rod and Suarez, but it's an interesting spot. I think there's plenty of upside, so like I don't necessarily want to go super heavy on just one or two pitchers. I do think we're going to end up spread out. I'm curious to see what the ownership projections end up being. In fact, I will see if we have any of those yet. Looking at this main slate here, we do not yet. So, just curious at what it could end up being. But, yeah, Flaherty, there's plenty of upside, right? Like, Seattle didn't strike out as much this season as last year when we were picking on them a lot. But they still do strike out. They do have plenty of power. But Flaherty, I mean, he at least looked decent in his first postseason start. The issue here is the outs recorded prop for Flaherty sits at 14.5, juiced to the under. So we're looking at, 4 1/3, 4 2/3. It's over 14.5 is minus 102, under 14.5 is minus 131. So we're probably looking at something very similar to this. And unfortunately, this is the norm amongst a lot of teams in baseball now. They just don't trust their starting pitchers. Like you get it in a vacuum. You go to the bullpen, you bring in hard throwers in situations, etc. But when you keep doing it over and over again, you destroy your bullpen. And by the World Series, if you manage to get there, they've faded so badly because of overuse. Like we've seen it before. Classic one was during COVID. The Tampa Bay Rays just absolutely deteriorated their bullpen, and it led to the Dodgers and Seager just dominating in a game where Blake Snell was absolutely elite. So, unfortunately, we see it too often. We see teams fade because of this, but yet, I guess, to coaching staffs and front offices, it's better to get there, I guess, than to go out early trying to, rely on, arguably, starting pitchers were always looked at as the best pitchers on a pitching staff. They have more weapons to get batters out, 4, 5, 6 pitches. But everything has become so specialized now that it's, I guess, not necessarily the standard. But I digress. Flaherty, there's a route for him to being one of the top 2 scoring pitchers for sure. Logan Gilbert on the other side, plenty of upside. Hasn't really shown a ton of upside over the last month and a half. Absolutely dominated the A's a month and a half ago, roughly. But since then, a high of just 22. He hasn't been terrible, like 3 runs or less in every start since. 1 run or fewer in 3 out of his last 5. Just hasn't shown big time K upside since then, but there is a ton of upside. 2 elite performances, or strong performances. I guess one had to be elite because he struck out 19 in 11 innings. Yeah, he struck out 10 in 6 1/3, which means he struck out 9 in 5. Actually, that was against Milwaukee. Right here. 9 and 5 1/3. And then 10 in 5 innings. So, plenty of Ks against Detroit this season. One bad thing, pretty strong home road splits. K rate drops a lot when on the road, allows more home runs on the road, etc. So we do have to pay attention to that. Home run splits mean a lot, but like Gilbert probably has the highest ceiling on the slate from the pitchers. His props aim towards that as well. The best K prop, the best outs prop, etc. on the slate. Toronto and New York Yankees. Carlos Rodon. Performances are all over the place. Don't really know what we're going to get from him. Just 1 start over 6 strikeouts since the 1st of August. K rate just hasn't been there. His walks jumped up last start. He had cut them down a little bit, but it just hasn't been overly dominant. And now he takes on a team in Toronto that he hasn't had the best of performances against. 5 walks in one start. 3 walks in the other. Like, giving up 2 earned in each start. So, like, that part's not bad. But Toronto just doesn't strike out all that much. And he's allowing a ton of base runners against Toronto. They take a lot of pitches. They battle. They fall off, etc. That is a worry. Now, a lot of his numbers are better at home, minus the home runs allowed. He does give up more home runs at home, which is kind of expected in this ballpark, but it's not a great spot for him, I will be honest. I do think that he is the most likely to go 6 innings outside of Gilbert. Since he's basically gone, he's pitched into the 6th at least since August 12th in every start. He could have here, I'm not sure, if he came out in the 6th or whatever, but he's pitching strong enough to get them to the better part of their bullpen. Problem is, Toronto's just looks so amazing in the series so far, but backs against the wall, win or go home game. I like to believe in studs doing stud things, and Rodon has a route. He just might be my least favorite pitcher on the slate, though. If he's not my least favorite pitcher on the slate, it's going to be Shane Bieber. Bieber hasn't really shown any K upside since the first start after being traded, and his first start after Tommy John. Strikeouts have really come down basically each start since. Went from 6 to 6 to 4, 5, back to 4, now to 3 in his last start. Home runs have been there. A couple of solo home runs in each of his last 2 starts. He hasn't thrown in a game, in 11 days, which probably could be an issue. The home runs thing has been an issue for me because we get New York in Yankee Stadium. Plenty of power. Hasn't really shown any upside since that first start. He was pretty decent against Baltimore. That's fine. It's just 22 fantasy points. I guess we'd jam in each pitcher that you told me would get 22 plus fantasy points. We'd be taking them in 90% of our lineups. So I shouldn't say like there hasn't been upside since his first start, but Toronto doesn't have their back against the wall, so they are less likely to panic pull him. But I really don't think he pitches more than 5 innings. He obviously could. He did pitch into the 7th 2 starts ago. But I do think he's probably a 6-inning guy at most, but most likely a 5-inning. But obviously, Toronto doesn't want to blow their bullpen up today, knowing that they have to play tomorrow. In a game that would be a 2-1 series, and they really don't want New York to come back and tie it 2-2. To where I could see the bullpen being used a bit more. But I think Bieber's in play, but the more I keep looking at it, it's like you go with who you think is going to win this matchup as probably your 3rd favorite pitcher, and the one that loses this one would be your 4th. Rodon and his lack of Ks really worries me, but especially because he's going to allow a bunch of base runners. He's probably a better FanDuel pitcher than DraftKings since it's an efficiency site, but I think both guys are viable. It's annoying trying to predict this game because I want the series to go 5, so I really want Rodon and the Yankees to win. But the problem is we can't really build our DFS lineups that way. We just have to take our preferences out of it from a bias standpoint. But there we have it. There's our first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at TFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., I will drop links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. And I will drop a link to the merch store as it loads here. Check out the different designs, my design, etc. As always, best of luck, everybody.